Hey everybody, welcome to Vance Tried It. Today, I'm going to be making some Philly cheesesteak roll-ups. So we're going to start by putting a couple of tablespoons of butter into this skillet. We're going to let it melt down a little bit. Now, Philly cheesesteak is one of my favorite sandwiches. And what I have found is that there are a lot of different ways to make Philly cheesesteak. Now, I've never actually been to Philadelphia, but I have done some research in the past in how to make an authentic Philly cheesesteak sandwich. And what I have found is if I go to most restaurants and I order a Philly cheesesteak, it is nothing like what I would make at home using the information that I have gathered from the internet. And so just take that into consideration when you're judging my Philly cheesesteak roll-ups. And I can tell you one thing that I notice is different is the authentic Philly cheesesteak is going to have Cheese Whiz on it. I'm actually not going to be using Cheese Whiz for the simple reason that I think in the roll-up, it's just going to be too messy. It's going to just ooze out and not hold in there really well. When I'm just making a Philly cheesesteak sandwich here at home, then I'll use Cheese Whiz. But I'm going to be using actually some pepper jack cheese in my Philly cheesesteak roll-ups. I think it's going to come out pretty good. So I have the butter melting down. Now I'm going to take one small onion. Now, I usually like to use like the sweet onions, like a Vidalia onion or another sweet onion. And I also have a bell pepper here. And I typically will use a colored bell pepper instead of a green bell pepper because really a green bell pepper is just a bell pepper that's not ripe. And so I just prefer to have the ripe bell peppers. And I dice these pretty fine. And so our goal here is to cook these down until they're pretty much translucent. And I'm going to get them stirred up a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and put some salt and some pepper in here. And now that I have all the butter melted down, I'm going to kick up the heat just a little bit, not a whole lot, but just a little bit to kind of get the action going a little bit right here. Hey, while we're doing this, y'all could do me a big favor. If you go down there underneath the video and you click that like button, maybe comment, share, subscribe to this channel so more people can see this. And hey, while you're down there, why don't you leave me a comment about what kind of cheese you like on your Philly cheesesteak? Now, another thing I will typically do on a Philly cheesesteak is not only will I do the onions and the bell pepper, but I will oftentimes do some jalapeno pepper and put on there too. And I like my food a little spicy. So I'm going to go ahead and get these cooked down, and then we'll get back to you when these are ready to go. Okay, so we have our vegetables cooked down, and you can really smell that aroma. It really changes the way they smell, and certainly the way they taste when you go ahead and cook down your vegetables like this, especially the onion. An onion kind of has a little bit of a bitter taste on its own, but once you start cooking it like this, then it really breaks down the oils in there, and it becomes actually sweet instead of bitter. And so my wife often says when I'm making something like this, or maybe I'm making fajitas that has some onions and vegetables in it, that her favorite part is the onions and the peppers. So now I have here a half a pound of ribeye steak that I have cut pretty thin. You can see it's pretty thin. That's actually one of the thicker ones. Let me see if I can find one that I got really thin here. And I just hand cut these. But you want them pretty thin. I don't have like a meat slicer. And depending on where you live, you might be able to get your butcher to just go ahead and slice it really thin for you. But you want them as thin as you can get them. We're just going to put them right in here in the vegetables. Make sure we get it stirred up really good. And then we just want to basically brown these up. Just about 3 to 5 minutes on this medium to medium high heat. So after I get this all browned up, then we will get right back to you. Okay, the meat has been browning for about 3.5 minutes, and I think it's pretty well browned. I don't want to get it too done or it'll lose its tenderness. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off the heat and get ready to roll up. But one thing I should tell you is while you were gone, I did put some Worcestershire sauce in here, and the recipe does not call for it, but whenever I'm making Philly cheesesteak, I always put some Worcestershire sauce on my meat, and so I did that for this. And so I'm going to go ahead and take it off and get ready to roll these bad boys up. Okay, so what I have here are some egg roll wraps. And I'm just going to be taking these, I'm going to be wrapping this up in here. So I just take one out, lay it down there. Give me a spoon here. Theoretically, this will make 10 of these. So just put some filling in there. Put some cheese on there. Like that. And then when you wrap these up, you want to wrap them up tight. If you don't wrap them up tight, then they are not going to hold together when they cook. So get a good tight wrap. Just like this. We'll just show you another one here. Grab a scoop of filling. Some cheese. Nice tight wrap on that. Now these rolls are a little bit delicate, so don't put your finger through them. I'm just going to wrap up the rest of these, and we'll come back after we get these wrapped up and we have our fryer all ready to go, and we'll try frying these up. Okay. So our fryer is up to temperature. It's a little over 350, and that's where we want it, between 350 and 375 as we start to put these in here. So just a couple of things that I observed before we start cooking these. One, I went ahead and I moistened the tip of the rolls in order to get them to secure on there. And the next thing I noticed is some of them, the food has penetrated through the shell. So we're going to see how that works out when we put them in there, if that stuff's going to stay in there, or going to leak out, or what we're going to do there. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a couple of these in here really carefully. Now the good thing about these is we don't actually need to cook what's inside the wrap, because that's already cooked. What we're really wanting to do is we're just wanting to get the wrap outside nice and crispy, and so that's what we're looking for. Let me grab a spoon here just so I can make sure we get everything going here. Turn these over one time, get what was on top on the bottom, get it nice and crispy, and this isn't taking long at all, and they are already really done. So you can see it comes out nice and golden brown. So I just have this tray set up with a draining rack on it. So when I set them on here, we're going to be able to let that oil drain off. And we're just going to keep cooking them. So I was actually able to get 12 of these made. So they are cooking up really nice. So if y'all find a recipe online, maybe you're scrolling through Facebook or you're on YouTube and you see a nice recipe and you be like, I'm not sure I want to try that, but Vance should try it. Well, hey, send me a link. Put it down in the description of one of my videos and I'll look it up. And if I'm able to, I'll give it a try. Let me get these turned over. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and cook up the rest of these, and then we'll come back, open one up, taste it, and see how they are. Okay, so the last of my Philly cheesesteak wraps is in the fryer, and they are done really right now. And so I'm going to take these out. And then we're going to take one of the ones that have been cooling off. We're going to cut it open. We're going to see what it looks like. And then we're going to see what it tastes like. Let me get my cooker off. Let me grab this bad boy right here. Let's just cut it open. See what it looks like. Okay, hopefully you can see that. It's got a good bit of melted cheese in there. Got the vegetables, got the meat. It's all in throughout. So we did a good job of spreading it out on there. But now, here's what we're really wanting to know. What's it taste like? Has a super nice crunch to it with this basically egg roll wraps. So now I had an adventure finding these egg roll wraps. I don't know if you've ever bought egg roll wraps, but I thought, well, surely they're refrigerated, and they are. So I looked in the refrigerator section. I looked where, like, the breads, the biscuits, all that stuff is. Couldn't find them. So I got on my phone, and I looked, and my phone said that the Walmart I was at had them in stock. But where in the world were they? So I walked all the way along the refrigerated section. I looked at the milk, the eggs, the cheese, the biscuits, everywhere. I got all the way past the vegetables. And there, where you find the store-made guacamole and salsa, were the wraps. Now, that's not where I was expecting to find them, but it is where I found them. So if you're going to try this, you might want to look there too. Like I said, it has a good crunch. That meat has really good flavor. Use a good quality of meat if you're going to do this. The vegetables are sauteed up just right. I tell you what, I tried it, and you should too.